All right, it is 1:01 p.m. Eastern time, so I think we'll go ahead and begin. For those of you that don't know me, I am Lindsay, and I'm on the marketing team here at LiveVox. Just want to thank you all for joining today's client-exclusive learning lab, Digitally Transform Your Front and Back Office with Integrated Ticketing. I'm excited to be joined by a few of our product leaders today, but before we begin, I wanted to just go over a few quick housekeeping items. To the right of your screen, you should see a Q&A panel for questions. So as those come up throughout the webinar, please feel free to enter your questions, and we'll try and get to them either throughout the webinar or at the Q&A section at the end. Also, this webinar is being recorded and will be distributed to all registrants later this week, so you will have a copy of the recording to share with your colleagues or rewatch. So with that, I think I'm going to kick it over to Jason Queener to get it started.
Okay, thanks, Lindsay. Thanks, everybody. Let's go ahead and hop to the next slide, and we'll get it started. So we will try to get everyone out of here well before the end of the hour. We'll give some time at the end for questions. But for those of you that don't know me, my name is Jason Queener. I lead our business consulting team here at LiveVox. I'm joined with two of my colleagues on the product side of the house. Boris, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yep, my name is Boris Grinchman. I work on the product management team, focused on CRM and digital channels here at LiveVox. Thanks for having me on the show here, Jason.
Thanks, Boris. And Erwin, could you say hello to everybody for us?
Yeah, thank you, Jason. Yeah, hello, everyone. My name is Erwin Devera. I'm a senior product manager here at LiveVox under the CRM product group. And again, excited to be here sharing you guys our ticketing application.
Thanks, sir. Okay, so let's go ahead and hop into this, and we'll start talking about the theme of the day, and that's ticketing. And your support system is the ticket to operational success. And I want to just share a few kind of some data points out there in the industry right now. The majority of the frontline support staffs are not connected to the back office processes, and that results in 44% of businesses citing a modernized support system as their biggest obstacle or blocker. So that translates to 86% of service teams reporting a productivity increase after adopting a ticketing system. Next one is that ticketing systems and help desks save up to 670 agent hours per year. That's a lot, right? Manually handling tickets, worse sticky notes, that's almost a thing of the past for most contact centers, but it's still out there. It can cost as much as $22 per issue. And for every dollar invested in the ticketing system, you can reap a projected turn of $3. So those are all massive numbers. And I'm excited because Erwin and Boris are going to show you how to implement and how that actually is going to happen. And as we go through this, we understand ticketing is not a new exercise for many inbound contact centers. But I know that a lot of the folks on the call today have at least a large portion or some portion of their business that's outbound, and ticketing has never really resonated much there. But I think I'm excited for Boris and Erwin to really show you why that's certainly not the case. So Erwin, let's hop to the next slide, and let's start with the first thing here. Can you kind of walk us through this?
Yeah, sure. So with this is just a snapshot of why it's critical to have ticketing, right? So what's happening is a majority of frontline support teams aren't connected to the back office processes, right? So really this lacks structure, as I mentioned before, so prior to this, right, they would utilize, maybe email or chatting with someone, and a lot of what's happening there is, it's creating data silos, right? So it's creating data silos. It's not really providing a great customer experience. So why does ticketing matter, right? So it matters because it really bridges that gap between the front office and the back office for a lot of situations and a lot of items that that might be coming in. So it promotes collaboration, and it adds structure to your entire processes and workflow.
Yeah, that's a great point, right? And we can hop to the next slide here, but I mean, I think that's exactly it. If you're interacting with a customer, you have some sort of customer workflow. Ticketing can certainly help. So let's start with the million-dollar question, Erwin. What is integrated ticketing?
Sure. So you can hop on the next slide here. So, an integrated ticketing system is really just a centralized tool within a company's technology stack used for, tracking, prioritizing, managing, responding to, and resolving customer and agent queries and escalations in mass. Ultimately, what an integrated ticketing system does is it's just a means to support and help companies deal with any issues, change requests, track conversations, and measure performance and optimize processes. You know, what it does is it gives companies the tool to catalog customer conversations over time within a single platform or via a ticket, so agents can handle, inquiries and escalations more efficiently, regardless of channel. And if the ticketing solution is integrated with a CRM, it gives agents a full unified customer profile, making the agent more effective since they would have a full historical and contextual view of why a person may be calling in or why this customer was part of a specific campaign. So, ticketing solutions out there, in addition to multi-channel capabilities and integration to CRM, great solutions out there also offer managers the ability to measure and monitor ticketing volumes through performance analytics, dashboards, reporting, and really allows them to identify what trends may be happening, as well as discover any bottlenecks within a company's workflows. It gives them another tool really to identify, measure, and optimize their processes.
No, that makes plenty of sense, and I think that's all super powerful. I really like the concept of taking your data analytics into what your escalation points are, right? It's not anecdotal anymore. You're taking data and trying to decide new strategic operations to fix that. So let's move to the next one here. And Boris and Erwin, I know your teams are working on a lot of things, and we're coming out with a lot of cool stuff. So why did integrated ticketing come up?
Sure. So, as we thought about the contact center space, right, and the processes that agents were using to help customers, we noticed a trend of issues where an agent may not be able to solve it right away, right? As you know, there are situations where a solution may not be done immediately, and it required some research, some time, another party, whether that was another group of agents, a specialized team, or whatnot. And I mentioned earlier the inefficient tools, like the spreadsheets, the shared inbox, or sticky notes that you mentioned, even messaging each other, whether that's through an agent or a manager, right? It was creating friction and really hindering the customer and agent experience. So we came to the question, how do we bridge that gap? How do we help our clients' contact center agents deliver more of a consistent workflow and empower them to be more efficient, while at the same time giving them the ability to easily communicate relevant information regarding a specific conversation and move it or escalate it to another group and to service the customer, right? So whether that's bridging the front office or back office or the customer care team to the sales team or the collections team, right? We realized, with LiveVox breadth of engagement channels, the CRM was just not enough, right? So we needed something to really track that even further, and that's really the catalyst for the integrated ticketing, right? That's really how we thought about it, and because the detailed customer profile on a CRM only just gave you a view of the contact details, right? It really didn't focus on the conversation that's happening. So it allowed our clients to go beyond more than just a disposition and really provided them more context and next step actions that can be tracked and queued up for another agent and department.
Hey, Boris, while we're on the slide, we're probably going to touch on it some more in detail as we go along, but we've been in a lot of contact centers, and even if it's not a sticky note, and even if it's just standing up and saying, hey, I need a manager, these agents are at home right now. And in some way, they're always, I've said this 1,000 times, this is always going to be a work at home model from now on in some facet. And the old stand up and scream for help technique doesn't work that way, right, Boris? I mean, you got to have some sort of a mechanism.
Yeah, absolutely. I couldn't agree more, Jason. And I think you're spot on that this has really taken off from a number of agents, moving and working from home now. It helps teams sort of bridge that gap. Where you could have walked over a little bit and asked somebody a question, you're now getting that sense. Managers are also getting a sense of what issues their agents are having problems with, and they're having to potentially escalate. So you could use this from a training perspective to say, oh, look, I am seeing sort of these particular tickets being opened up and not being serviced by my frontline support teams. there's this pattern, perhaps I should, invoke a training course. But it also helps people sort of collaborate a little bit better than they have before, whether they were in a centralized location or not, as Urban really mentioned, because people can open tickets, you can sort of piggyback and start to work with somebody on a particular issue. And then also it helps that notion of, I don't want to call it first call resolution, but just contextual awareness. So oftentimes we have customers that call back and say, hey, I'm calling regarding this problem, and this problem that I talked to this person about, but we lack the context to report back and reply to the customer. Oh, I see that we called you, perhaps you told us that you're filing for bankruptcy. I see we captured these details, but hey, look, it looks like we're working on that, or hey, it looks like somebody has already reached out to you, but you just haven't had a chance to get back or provide that paperwork. Having that context actually helps you optimize the speed of the call and actually creates a much better overall customer experience. So I couldn't agree more, Jason, that this sort of working from home component really sort of propelled ticketing solutions holistically in the industry.
Thanks for that. So Lindsay, I think we can go ahead. Yeah. So how do you configure integrated ticketing to capture these details beyond just the promise to pay or bankruptcy or dispute? How do you add that additional detail?
Yeah, so I can take this one. So integrated ticketing solution, right? So it really allows your managers, right, to create different types of tickets that agents can use for specific situations, right? So as Boris mentioned, it gives them the ability to add contextual information, right? This form can be created in a way so that agents or even consumers are only entering the important details. So not only are we moving away from like singular disposition code to track how a conversation went, ticketing allows agents to capture the really structured data and link it to the customer profile and review it and view the status of it and just see how that ask or that task is happening. So for agents, it really can help them structure their conversations by asking the right questions, and then really just track it as the conversation continues, or if they call back in and they're asking for a specific update for the ask that they've been doing. Now for managers, integrated ticketing really puts a spotlight on transit processes, right? Because you have a way to catalog the tickets, and they'll be able to see and view the types of tickets that are coming in and measure those through dashboards and reporting tools we have. Gives them the opportunity really to identify and optimize their workflow.
One of the things that I think is great about this level of detail is, again, same call center or work from home. I think most call centers that are very, very successful thrive on continuity and reliability, and agents feel that more than anyone. So if an agent can be, you said it earlier, to use that word, empowered to service a customer by escalating and have an ability to track that information and know my work was done correctly, I did the right steps, it went to the right teams, that's just a better solution for everybody, right? It takes all the guesswork out, it takes kind of the finger pointing out of it, and again, DeBoris is a perfect example. It's just a better customer experience.
Yeah, so you see here, these are just, two ways that a ticket can be created, right? So we mentioned about agents creating tickets, but our solution also offers a ticket form that can be embedded on a website. So what you see here on the left side is a web widget that will submit a ticket. So if you guys have a website and it's after hours, and you want to make sure you're not losing any customer requests coming in, or any disputes, or any sales or anything like that, a customer can really just open a ticket, and through our automation and through some backend processes, you can assign that ticket to a specific agent or a specific group, and then just create call them back however you guys decide to do that. Now, on the right side, this is just a particular view of what an agent sees when they're working on a ticket, right? So a lot of these are customizable. You can define the types. You can define the columns that you're displaying. Our solution also allows you to basically specify which agents have access to the ticket or whatnot, right? So it gives you that type of flexibility.
Boris, my assumption today is that if if a contact center is not, and I'm talking about the form on the left-hand side where you're kind of hitting it from a website or somewhere. My assumption is today that if a contact center is not using some sort of ticketing, they're probably doing what? They're chasing emails to do this today. Is that kind of the process?
Yeah, we see these sort of processes be sort of a hodgepodge of events, right? We see this exhibited in a couple of different ways, and I'll call them I'll call it the bad behaviors or the behaviors that lead to unfortunate events. One, we've seen people sort of explode the number of their disposition codes, and then they start to create sort of more of a data process around it, where every night or every few hours they're sort of exporting large-scale files out of our system, they're importing them into some other system. That then is reliant upon some process sort of kicking off. Obviously, the process may work correctly from a technology standpoint, but what you're missing is sort of having an event logged in on the agent from an agent perspective. You're really relying on some other system to drive process that can work. So that's sort of like that explosion of disposition codes. We've seen that sort of as a solution. The other solution is we see an abnormal amount of transfers happening from one agent team to the next. Now, sometimes that's warranted, so that's not to say that that isn't a good thing, but more often than not, we see people sort of saying, oh, I've gotten this, I maybe have this information. They're starting to transition the call. They're having to repeat all of that information. Hopefully they repeat it correctly to an agent in another team. And then they're having to transfer that call over. And then the customer feels like they want to be heard. So they're repeating that information once again. Anybody that's thinking of this becomes an extremely long, fairly inefficient conversation where it could have been just handled at point, I think at point of entry. And then there's a hodgepodge of other communication channels. Jason, you mentioned emails. As everybody knows, it's almost impossible to track emails in any email client that you're using today. There's not really structure. It's open thoughts of the day, if you will, and you're demanding people sort of man their email inbox and some of these things. Some people will chat and use internal chat applications to send other customers messages. Some will try to escalate this through a manager of some sort. Point being is that besides the fact that the data is not structured, you as a contact center supervisor have very little visibility in terms of what are the important issues my contact center needs to address and how quickly am I addressing them? Did I get them out correctly? Or is my customer going to call me back in 2 days? And is that going to create another set of events that are potentially going to be tracked separately or sort of overlap over each other?
Yeah, and you kind of hit on a couple of things. You gave the example kind of twice to say, you've called in and you said, well, I talked to so-and-so and I was supposed to give follow-up. We've all had that experience with our cell phone company or cable provider or anyone, right? And there's always that sense of despair when you don't have some sort of tracking information, right? And even the simplicity of giving your customer, hey, your ticket number is 12345 if you need to call back, is just, again, such a powerful customer experience item for me, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, I also, the digital aspect of it, I think is actually very, very important as well, Jason. I know we're living now, it feels like permanently out of our homes, but that means that we're doing all things at all times of the day. We are, doing our work during the day. We are potentially taking care of our personal business in the evening or whenever time comes up. That doesn't necessarily mean that your contact center is 24/7, nor do customers think it will be. But what they do expect is that if your self-service options are potentially lacking, that you have an opportunity to at least put in a request. You have somebody that's going to be knowledgeable, that's going to get back to you in a timely manner. And we've seen, honestly, the number of inquiries initiated by customers over this period of time really explode. So whether you're utilizing other non-voice channels or whether you're utilizing ticketing, it's sort of imperative for you to do that because everybody's using digital channels 24/7 these days.
Yeah, good point. So let's hop ahead here, Lindsay. So Erwin, who is LiveVox's integrated ticketing solution best suited for? I mean, who's the target audience here?
Sure. So really, integrated our integrated ticketing solution really is best suited for any enterprise looking for a way to efficiently, deal with issues, escalations, or even change requests, right? I mean, Boris hit it around the head, right? So if you need a way to really structure these types of data inputs, whether they're dispositions or these conversations, right? And you need a way to capture and prioritize the work. A ticketing solution will be great for them, right? Because it gives you more of a data-driven approach for the contact center. Because for the managers, it's an easy way for them to really spot trends that may be happening, right? So they can identify, we're getting a lot of tickets regarding bankruptcies or regarding certain items, and then there's it's part of it's within a team right now or within an agent, and there's a bottleneck for that, right? So it allows them to identify where things may be getting stuck. Right. So that's really, so enterprises that have a need for that, I think is great for a ticketing solution.
Again, it's those, I think people think ticketing's a big ask, but every contact center is doing this today. They're just not putting formal processes around it. I mean, and let's just talk, again, let's go back to outbound for a second, right? I mean, an agent says, hey, I need this account assigned to me. How do they do that today? They send an email, they send an IM, they open the account, they post it note. I don't know what they do. But it's more to the ether, and the agent doesn't have that tangible ticket number to go, did this happen? Right? So those are good examples. Thank you, Erwin. So what are the benefits of integrated ticketing then?
Yeah, so couple of different benefits. So I think first and foremost, I think the first piece of it is having it integrated within a CRM system with flexibility to connect to other processes is sort of very, very important. We often in time see ticketing systems sort of rolled out as standalone solutions, and I think that in its own right is even helpful. But what makes the world of a difference? I think what makes the world of a difference is not only being able to create and capture structured data, but also being able to tie that into a particular a phone conversation or connect that to an email conversation or perhaps an SMS conversation that helps add context to the ticket. The second piece is sort of the integration piece of it. So we realize there are multiple systems that many clients may be utilizing today. And it's important that if you have processes that connect perhaps into other systems of record or into other solutions like client-based systems for our BPO clients, that you have the ability, in other words, to take a ticket in and pass it forward. An example of that may be, even on the collection side, the notion around CFPB sort of formal complaints. So the CFPB asks that you track all formal complaints, and you have a record of it, and you kind of have that process. Well, that may originate with you as a BPO. That may then need to flow back into the creditor. And so connecting that sort of, if you will, daisy chain and making that easy to do is very, very imperative. If you have a standalone solution, that becomes quite a bit, jerky and can get lost in the shuffle. In addition to all of this, this must be easy, right? For a lot of clients today, if we're not utilizing the ticketing system, you may be thinking, okay, well, this is sort of daunting. I need to think of all the types of issues. I need to think of all of these workflows. I need to think of all of these sort of variations. What is most imperative is that you get started. And the reason I say that is that you learn a lot from getting started and understanding at a deeper level some of the issues that need follow-up versus, assuming that, you're managing, 20 tickets today. And that only comes with sort of this notion of having ticketing integrated with conversations, integrated with a CRM platform. What our most successful clients do, of course, is that they get started, they understand sort of at a high level the types of issues that are happening, and then they start to create specific processes for each one of those types of issues. So that integration helps quite a bit. I think also what helps is having context around the problem itself. Whether you're in tech support today, and you're sort of receiving screenshots, you're receiving communication like MMS messages, or you need attachments like PDF files that you plan on sending to the customer. I think it's important to have sort of the context of being able to add that rich data to any ticket to really sort of fulfill this notion. So again, folks that are out there that receive lots of requests, hey, can you send me that payoff statement? Can you send me where you reverse that charge? Can you do all of this? Yes, it's important to do the sending, but it's also important to log the fact of what it is that you've sent, and sort of an integrated solution with attachments is pretty important.
So I want to bring this up real quick while we're kind of going through the use cases here. Sharon just popped up a note on the side here, and it's very timely, right? Everybody's digesting these CFPB rulings and these changes, and one of the changes was about the form laid out, and it requires a website. And her point is very valuable. If you have to require this information, you better have this sort of availability on your website to let people pop a dispute into a ticket, not an email, not a contact me. I mean, the process flow to be able to handle that is very, very powerful. So Sharon, good point. Thank you for bringing that up. I think we can hop to the next slide here, Lindsay.
Okay, great.
So guys, let's talk about how our clients are using this today.
Absolutely. Okay, so what happens beyond ticketing? We talked a lot about a structured data set and the ability to have sort of intake forms and understanding the tickets that are coming in. I think one of the most important things is now having visibility. What you're seeing here is a screenshot of a variety of dashboards and reports that we have at LiveVox. From a fairly practical perspective, what we have is a dashboard that gives you a really sort of topical view to say, hey, these are the tickets that are coming in right now. This is how many you've got. This is how they're split amongst your teams. These are the people that are working on them. This is how quickly it's taking you to resolve them. This is where you are meeting your self-assigned service levels. This is where you're not. Gives you some high-level capability to be able to also sort of slice and dice that data, see that data in a fairly raw format through a queue. So the idea being that if you are heading up a contact center, or you're just heading up a team, or you're just an agent, you know everything that's assigned to you and what needs priority and what needs to be worked on. Okay. The second is sort of the drill down mechanics. What we've now included ticketing data in in our latest release is an RBI tool. This now gives you that much more granular level of capability to be able to slice and dice that data any which way that you place. So now you could start to take a look and say, okay, look, I'm seeing, let's say, a potential issue here. It's an issue that's increased in terms of its volume. It's a chargeback issue. Okay, let me take a look. Is it happening to a particular customer set? How quickly are we getting to it? Is it because we have potentially low performance on a particular team, or is it because the ticket is being misrouted to another team? How long is our average response time? What is the actual time from open to close where we take care of this particular ticket? And again, every custom field on the ticket, it becomes a reportable item. So if you want to add that sort of a dimension or a slice dimension, it gives you that capability to do so.
So I think we can slide on to the next slide here.
Yep. I think Jason's having a little bit of maybe technical lag, or maybe it's just me, who knows? You there, Jason? Okay, great.
Sorry, I apologize. That's my fault. Yes, to put a bit of a different visualization, can you go through that?
Yeah, so this is a little bit of what I talked about on the prior slide around showing the dashboard, showing some of those metrics, and giving you the ability to slice and dice this. One thing that I also did want to mention is that the ticketing platform and your view also gives you the ability to set priorities on tickets, so not to treat every single issue as the, like a hot burning issue, but that really helps you to set the priority levels for your back office teams to say, hey, look, guys, I know you're busy, things are coming in, but I need a systematic way to say what is important, what you should get out first, or what you should work on first before next. And I think having that is sort of critical for any back office team.
Hey, Boris, sorry about that. I had a little internet blip there that put me into
No
world. Let's bring this home. We got a couple more points I think you guys want to make here. So, and we talked that first slide was really, really powerful. So, Boris, what is the ROI? Can you kind of hit on those highlights again?
Yeah, absolutely. So this is, we've seen now a number of clients adopt it. Obviously, this is widely adopted in some use cases as well, especially within the contact center. So if you're a contact center, about 100 agents today, you're receiving about 400 inquiries. That's not to say you're getting 400 calls per se, but you have 400 events essentially that need follow-up. You're going to save about 364 agent hours. I mean, that's a $1.5 million savings. That's a tremendous ROI. And you may say, Boris, well, where does this ROI really come from? Where am I going to specifically save money? First, you're going to specifically save money on the intake process. Having structured the ability to just like very quickly and easily for your agents to be able to say, hey, look, can you provide me this, and this information? That's going to be your initial money savings. The second money savings you're going to receive is I'll call it the journey of the issue as it goes from one team to the next, utilizing an automated process that's built into ticketing versus a manual process of me calling Jason or emailing Jason and repeating myself is the second step where you're going to save process. The third place you're going to save process is the team that the ticket is handed off to. They will have just the right data elements to be able to quickly and easily process the issue and know exactly how to connect and contact the customer. So that's where you'll save money. And then where you'll save money is that even if issues are not resolved quickly, but the customer ends up calling in, you'll be able to shorten the time frame and let the customer know, hey, I got you. This is being worked on. I know this may be taking longer than you expected to, but I know exactly what the status of it is. So those are probably the 4 to 5, if you will, places where you're going to save money right away, specifically in agent costs.
Yeah, and they don't have to be, I mean, this is the nice thing about ticketing. They don't have to be huge bites, right? This isn't like deploying a 50-branch IVR where you expect a massive ROI immediately. Reducing an average handle time on an inbound call by 10% is a big deal over the time of a month, right? And if you have a customer that calls and says, calling about my dispute, my ticket number is 123, and Erwin goes, oh, I see it here. You were talking to Boris. Boris has done this, this, and this, and this. We're just waiting on X document. It's a game changer. And these are, again, they're little bites, but they're repeatable, sustainable little bites that add up to a big ROI.
Absolutely. Couldn't agree with you more, Jason.
So I think we're wrapping up. We did have some questions come in, but before that, I want to just summarize kind of the information that Boris and Erwin have shared with us today. So again, for those of you that don't already know, we have a fully integrated multi-tenant solution with contact management and challenges for a holistic customer interaction. Out-of-the-box automation and insights to identify and treat problems. SLAs allow you for quick and classification and provide visibility into time-sensitive issues for your teams. The ticketing embed forms that support customer needs during non-traditional business hours, right? So 3 a.m., they have a form, no problem. And then lastly, it streamlines, automates, and connects the inner workings of your front and back office teams with integrated ticketing. So the things you're doing today, streamlined, automated, and refined for a better customer and agent experience. So Boris and Erwin, thanks so much for your time. I have a few questions that came in for you here, if you guys would entertain those real quick.
Of course.
So first question, Boris, I'm going to pass to you, and it's kind of a two-part. The customer wants to know, do we have to have CRM, LiveVox CRM, and or contact manager for ticketing?
Yeah, I mean, it's a great question. While we highly, highly recommend Contact Manager, and just as a reminder, it is a free solution that we offer, you do not need to have Contact Manager. And while it's great to have the great desktop with omnichannel capability with UCRM, that is also not a requirement. Neither one of those two applications are required in order to get started and going with ticketing.
Thank you, sir. So, Erwin, I'm gonna pass this one to you. The general question is ticketing new on our latest release? Is this a new version, or is this the first version? Sorry.
No, we've been developing ticketing for the prior 4 versions. So we've launched ticketing back in U11, and we've consistently just added to it.
Okay, so Boris, this one just came up, and I'm gonna pass it to you. Or even Erwin, you guys can decide which one to answer this with. But can it be integrated? Can there be some sort of transfer of information to a ticketing system like Jira?
Oh, that's a great question. Go ahead, Erwin, please.
Yeah, I'm glad you asked that. You certainly can. So we are on our ticketing application. You can call third-party APIs, and we're actually utilizing that to open Jira cases.
Yeah, thanks, Erwin. I'm glad I said Jira, because that one hit you right at home, didn't it? Last question here, and it's a common question we get, right? I'm just getting started, and I'm not tracking. What if I'm just getting started and I'm not tracking any issues in particular, Boris? I mean, how would you recommend just kind of getting off the ground with ticketing?
Yeah, so one of the things that we've done, especially for clients that are just looking to get started, is we actually created a shell of the most typical sort of tickets. We already have pre-configured certain priority levels and created what I would call just standard fields, such as, priority, subject line, details, best place to contact the consumer, at time of ticket, and allowing people to actually just even manually assign particular ticket types to teams. In other words, somebody can literally roll out ticketing within a few minutes and see success. Now, after you roll that out, you can come back in a week or 2 weeks and say, okay, look, I see particular patterns of tickets going to specific teams. Let's automate that. Let's not do manual assignment anymore. Or I see a lot of issues being flagged as, for a particular problem. Let's say online banking or mobile banking is down, but we're having to go back and ask the customer regarding the version of the browser that they're utilizing. So let's add that as an upfront question as an example, and let's create a particular process flow around that. So point being is you can get started with it being fairly open-ended, and then start to look at the data and start to slice out and just create better processes. All of the processes, by the way, don't require development efforts, so it's all through configuration. None of it requires touching code, or even, for a matter of fact, even opening a work order at LiveVox.
Yeah, it's great answer. I mean, it's just like when we talk to customers about deploying an IVR. Start with the greatest hits. Let's get the easy wins. You can refine as you go along. So, Boris and Erwin, thank you so much for your time. I know you're both really busy, but this has been really helpful. I know ticketing is kind of a new concept for a lot of people, so I really appreciate you spending some time with us today. And Lindsay, I'm gonna pass this back to you to wrap us up.
Awesome. Thank you, Jason, Erwin, and Boris. Mimicking Jason, appreciate your all time today, and appreciate everyone jumping on the line to join us. We hope you'll join us for next month's webinar on our latest release, U15. That webinar will be taking place on Wednesday, March 10th. We hold these learning labs on the second Wednesday of every month, so we hope you will continue to join us. Like I mentioned at the top of the call, we will also be sending out an email with all the recording and presentation, as well as these available assets. So please feel free to check it out and learn more about our ticketing process or product, excuse me. So with that, I will give everyone a couple minutes back of their Wednesday and hope everyone has a great day. Thank you, guys.